Ladies and gentlemen, I am here with Dino, and we're here doing our little post-match discussion. As you guys saw, we went ahead and matched up, or as you're going to be seeing anyways, we're matching up Scorch and Monarch today. A very interesting combination. We decided the best way to do this going forward was to just do LTS. We actually played 2 matches of LTS just to get a feel for everything. We did not focus on batteries just to get away from an additional variable. And again, the whole idea of this project going forward is just kind of expose more people to the current state of the different Titans, and also to see how they function in a 1v1 situation. This is not something that I even got to experience. Like, this is my first time doing it, and once you actually stick, like, you know, in this case, Scorch and Monarch together, and you have this sterile 1v1 environment, there's so many things you just didn't know that all of a sudden become very clear to you. And it's a pretty eye-opening experience, and Dino is going to help me a lot with that today, and I've already learned quite a bit about ways that Scorch continues to suck more than I already thought he did. So we're going to start by looking at Scorch first, I guess, and then we'll move on to the Monarch. So I know you got a lot to say just about the current state of Scorch, Dino. I figured I'd just let you run with that, man.
So for Scorch right now, the biggest problem for Scorch is that he is the only Titan that really needs Turbo Engine to be successful. And yet, at the same time, not running Overcore is a huge advantage. Every Titan in the game can get away with Overcore except for Scorch. And Overcore is so overpowering that you're silly not to pick it usually, and it's just so good not to have that you really just can't compare it. Regardless of how good Turbo Engine does, you're just not doing as well because you simply don't have that 30% core. So it just makes Scorch at an immediate disadvantage that you really can't recover from. And then when it comes to his tier 2 kits, he has 2 pretty good options between Wildfire Launcher and Inferno Shield, but even with like Wildfire Launcher, his primary damage just isn't consistent, and with the Inferno Shield build, then you're relying on successful flanks, which is more of relying on your opponent's ability to make a mistake so that you can get behind them from across the map with the slowest Titan in the game, than you actually outplaying them or like doing something correctly, you know?
Yeah, we saw that a lot with this match, especially what you were talking about with Overcore. Like, I ran Turbo Engine the entire time, and that meant that I had to, in a 1v1 situation, especially on LCS, I had to drag it out to like the end of the match just to get fortunate enough to build my core. And even that, as you just said, was driven by so much luck. Like, it was just that game of poking and hoping I could do enough damage to build, because in all of the other matches we did today, even with the same amount of poke, like, we ran out of time on the 1 round on Exoplanet. I still didn't build my core, you know, without Overcore, and that could have obviously done a lot of damage for me.
One of the rounds when you poked me for like 2 minutes straight and just kept drilling me with that grenade launcher, and you only did like 2,500 damage. You only did a bar after like 2 minutes of hitting me like 8 times. It's like, why is this not doing damage? This thing should be hurting a lot more.
Yeah,
look
so,
at how much harder it is to hit than like a chain gun or something. It's just not doing damage.
To land those shots, it's no joke. Like, you've got an arc, you got to lead your target. Like, half the time I'm trying to predict if you're coming around the corner and just firing at one, and then you get the hit marker. But that's it. It's like a 1-second hit marker. There's no damage after that. It's like you don't see the guy's health bar for the entire match, and then he finally starts to rush you, and you're like, 3 bars still? Like, what?
Another big problem for him is that I think you had at least one time on Angel City where you lost a bar for yourself because you decided to shoot your primary when you were at close range, and it's like, don't use your grenade launcher at close range if you don't want to kill yourself. So you might as well just rely on your, like, it's just like encouraging you to only use your shield, the only somewhat consistent thing about him, and that's just not enough.
Yeah, the room for error is like so slim on that one. Like, all I was trying to do was shoot over that wall, and it was like obviously a bad move in the first place, but even then, it's like to just be punished for like hitting the wall, which is still like 3 feet in front of me, is, you know, yeah, like you said, it's a bit ridiculous. There's just too much going on with like, here's all these abilities, they're really hard to use.
Too many.
Yeah, and they're backed by all these what ifs. Exactly.
On top of that, with the primary as well as the abilities that he has, not only does he have a projectile-based weapon where you have to lead your shots very well, he also, and then on top of that, his abilities all rely on setting the ground on fire below people, and map terrain just works completely against them. For example, Angel City, I was standing on top of the railways so that he couldn't use his thermal or his incendiary traps or his firewall. I was able to get on top of rocks and pillars and exoplanet just to make it where the only thing he could even use was his grenade launcher.
Poor Scorch, man. Poor Scorch. We need to, you know what, Dino, that's what we got to do sometime too. If it doesn't happen within the next month, we need to just like sit down and have a roundtable discussion about things we would like to see happen to Scorch, because that list
would be wonderful.
Could go on for 20 or 30 minutes. So let's move on and talk a bit about the Monarch, though. Obviously, a lot of strengths with this matchup with the Monarch, but I guess, are there any areas in which you think the Monarch, which like maybe certain kits that don't actually work that well as Scorch? Are there any downsides to anything that Monarch has right now when it comes to going up against Scorch?
Monarch's biggest problem against Scorch that I was finding, I don't have burst damage. What I have to do for burst damage is my rocket salvo, which requires me to get kind of close to use it properly, and you can still flame shield it for the most part. So I had to be relying entirely on my chain gun, which can be a bit of a problem. That's why it was taking so long to kill Scorch and giving him those tons of opportunities to hit me with this grenade launcher. And I was using Energy Thief for most of it, and it wasn't benefiting me a whole ton because the 10% faster core wasn't really mattering when I was getting one core a game anyways. And I got the most out of Shield Amplifier, actually. That way I could basically heal any damage that your grenade launcher can do in any reasonable amount of time. So every time I got you with the Siphon Shot, I'm like, okay, well, if he hits me with his grenade launcher, well, that trades for that. So everything I do between now and then is a victory.
Oh, man. Poor Scorch. Yeah, that was something we saw in that same situation where I did finally build the core. I remember you talking in game about having trouble with the burst damage, and it was yeah, it was only because I had that position where I was like on that low ground around the little Coliseum area where I could shoot through the things and just keep getting that damage. Where, like you said, you didn't really have enough time to get out and get the missile poke on, and that still dragged it out.
Monarch loses to the poking game because Monarch's poke is rocket salvos, which requires being close and them staying in a spot for a second for you to land them. And the chain gun's not going to do good poking damage. It's going to be a little bit to annoy them, but unless you catch them out of position, you're not doing outstanding damage by any means. So just with even though Scorch is slow and Scorch's primary isn't consistent damage, those rounds where every time you hit me it just sticks to my feet and does a bar, it's gonna add up. But it's not gonna happen every time, which is the problem.
Yeah, so it's almost like, we were saying if Scorch was more consistent with his damage even, he could probably win in that poke game. Basically what you're saying, just because Monarch doesn't have really good poke with the salvo, with the rocket salvo.
Yeah, so compare the railgun to the thermite launcher real quick. They're both non-hit scan, and Scorch's primary can do more damage per shot. I think it's up to like 3,000-ish. And the railgun will do 2,000 and 3,000 with a crit. It's a lot easier to hit someone with a railgun at literally any range than the grenade launcher. With the railgun, you're going to get the same damage with every shot. You can hit somebody at any range with the grenade launcher if you do it perfectly. But even if you do it perfectly, you're not going to see 3,000 damage every time, even if it was a 3,000 damage worthy shot. The thermite could bounce off them and do absolutely nothing, and you'll get like 800 damage for it. And that could happen anytime. And if it's simply like guaranteed, like if you got a direct hit on his chest or where the crit zone should be, which I don't get why Scorch can't land crits, I think that's unfair. But if like maybe you hit his crit zone, that it would stick to the Titan for 2 seconds, that would mean you would do at least 2,000 or 3,000 damage with that perfect shot. I think that would, like, even just something simple as that would make Scorch so much better. He just needs some consistency.
Exactly, we saw that a lot. I mean, there was entire rounds where I didn't get one stick at all, and that was the round where we burned out the clock and I saw your health bar at the end and it wasn't even
it's like touched, 3 bars.
You land like 8 shots in a match and like you're saying, if 8 shots, the potential for 3,000 damage on each shot, and it's like, and you're getting maybe like 10% of that with all 8 of those shots.
You're getting like 400 or 500 shot between my overshields and the fact that nothing stuck.
So what would you say? Okay, so let's pull out of the 1v1 situation for everybody. So if you are out in the open in Titan Brawl, or even working as a team in LTS, and for some reason you play Scorch because you love him as much as we love him and you just want to play him, What would you say would be the best strategy to just trying to survive and getting maximum damage on a Monarch?
Try to keep it map dependent, but if you're insistent on playing Scorch on any map, you really the wildfire launcher gives you more opportunities because it adds a little bit of consistency, not a lot, but a little bit to your grenade launcher, allowing you to do a little bit more of that long range head-on matchups a little bit better, and also improves your poking game because the extra thermite pools will increase the chances that it can stick, so that really comes in handy. Or you can go with the Inferno Shield, especially in like Titan Brawl on Exoplanet is a perfect example of when Turbo Engine Inferno Shield can lead the team and absolutely decimate the enemy. When the map is enclosed, when it's Scorch friendly, and when there's chaos, like the kind of the point in Titan Brawl, Titan Team Deathmatch, there's chaos everywhere. People are always focused with something. And people are always at different parts of the game with their amount of health and core percentage and the scoreboard in that. Turbo Engine and Inferno Shield, it's so much easier to get behind people when they're always preoccupied with new Titans spawning in. So try to use the chaos to your advantage. You need to get that gap on them. And when it comes to Scorch, or when it comes to Monarch getting arc rounds, then you have to remove the opportunity or the hope that you can get a flame shield flank on them, because they can instantly drain your shield. So if you know they have arc rounds, you just have to do what Tony Mo was doing here in the matches that we just played. He's just sniping with his grenade launcher. As hard and silly as that sounds, he has to snipe you with the grenade launcher because he simply can't do damage other ways without chaos.
Yeah, just stay back and get away from it. That's a really good point, the chaos, when you talk about that. I think that's the only times where I've ever tried to say, like, Scorch can kind of work is when you are just trying to, like, stay focused in the chaos and take opportunity of people getting, like we were saying, being out of position, just being caught up because it's Titan Brawl and it is chaotic, and, they're like, they're just, like, doing whatever they can to get that next kill, and if you can just feed off of that, and go for the people who are, look for the people that your team is doing damage to even. I know I've done that where I've just looked for a group of guys who are already low on damage and dump some canisters in there and then just try and build that core as quickly as possible. Again, using overcore, obviously going to be, helpful if you feel like are playing in the back maybe, just trying to get a bunch of poke. You might not get a lot of kills at the end of the day, but maybe you'll set up that one big triple and maybe that's enough to make you happy at least.
Yeah, when there are constantly 5 Titans on the map, and on top of that, you're also getting different core meters, and the map is so friendly, and people are always preoccupied between the 5 Titans that are there and the spawn flips, Titans falling from the sky, dropping randomly, and you're always being pushed from different directions because Titans are all over the map from the new spawns. It is a lot easier for you to get that flame shield damage compared to LTS, where they're always looking for that Scorch. They're always watching that flank because they're already in their positions, because after the first 30 seconds of the round, people are where they need to be, and after that point they're not moving around a whole much, so it's kind of hard for Scorch to get the flank when people aren't always moving, because the playstyle or the game mode doesn't require you to be as aggressive compared to modes like Titan Brawl. So I think Titan Brawl is the main place where Scorch shines. That's one of the few places that I don't have a problem or don't feel like I'm hindering myself by picking Scorch, just because he thrives on the chaos, and he causes more.
Exactly. I think that's subconsciously probably why I enjoy Titan Brawl so much, because I feel like it's the one place where you can just, like you said, actually have some fun.
I can use whatever Titan I want and actually not lose sometimes,
Yeah, exactly. All right, Dino, thanks a lot, man. I'm looking forward to doing more of these. Dino and I are going to be trying to get together as often, aiming for one a week, basically, until we make our way through all of the different matchups. Just looking at how these Titans function in a 1-to-1. It is like, honestly, I know a lot of you guys out there, you're super into pilot stuff. Like, if you play any game modes that have Titans in them ever, like, this is the type of stuff you need to learn, you need to know about. It's just going to make you better. And it's also going to help you have a better understanding of, like, where the current state of the Titans are. We see a lot of people, and Dino and I have, like, an ongoing joke about this, who think Scorch is this overpowered god. And, we just want people to understand why we think he's weak, why we, where he's mechanically, frustrated, I guess is the best way to put it right now, so we can hopefully push towards a future where Scorch gets some love. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions for us, anything you'd like to, ask myself or Dino, he's going to be possibly uploading this over on his channel as well. So you'll be able to check it out in both places. Feel free to hit us up with any questions. If you guys have any suggestions for future matchups you'd like to see, because we're just going to kind of go with whatever order. So if there's something people really want to see that you're really curious about, let us know, and we'll try and get to that one first. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Dino, thank you again for joining me for this, and we'll see you in the next one.